and today and see everybody. And it was such a pleasure yesterday. Diego and I had our first presentation with you guys, and it was fantastic. It will just be me today. I think Diego's unfortunately something's come up, but he will be back on Thursday. Just a little bit about me and why I'm here, really. I am the service lead for Nudge Minds, and Nudge Minds is the therapeutic provision of nudge education, and it's absolutely on a mission to eradicate unnecessary emotional pain in young people. And I came in with this because I'd actually spent a lot of years supporting and internationally professional athletes with clinical sports therapy, mindfulness, mind and body coaching, with a particular interest in understanding the physiological and the emotional imprint of trauma. I worked in clinical environments also here in Newcastle and London and various different places. And I came across pain, and every single time I came across pain, and what I really wanted to understand is how can we intervene? And this is not just an emotional process or not just a physical process, it's very much linked. So experiencing all of this, from the acute injury to the chronic pain through to actually supporting the palliative process, what it is that is a block in performance is the same process that I've experienced as a recovery and healing. Is that a lot of the stories I was understanding, the physical and the emotional stories, were very much linked to what had gone on in early years and throughout a person's life. So I picked up the phone to Diego and I was like, this intervention has to happen sooner. It has to happen with young people. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could coach our young people in how we can really intervene and understand our own stress, how our young people can understand their own stress and their emotional response or reactivity. So this is why I came into Nudge Minds. And this insight session today came about because we actually love to deliver this coaching to our practitioners and really understand, both personally and professionally, what it means to be in front of and supporting a young person who has goals, who has a drive, who I really, really want to do well, who has potentially a background that has suffered from a lot of hardship or has been exposed to trauma, physical, emotional trauma. This is really sensitive work, and actually I really want to make sure our practitioners and anybody that's involved in education and support has the tools that I wish I had to support myself with self-care. So that's why we're here today in the insight sessions. So I'm going to just begin and just let you know practically what that will mean for us today. Not the absolute best on tech, so just bear with me. This is usually Diego's job, but we're both the same, so we'll be there in a moment. But what we will work to today is understand those things such as the blocks in our performance, the stress, the pain that I've mentioned. We'll also look very practically at what this means and how we can intervene, as well as put this into practice, really understand and really embody this with a breathing technique practice and a mindfulness meditation. So welcome everybody here. It is such a pleasure, and thank you so much for being here with us for this short, sharp session. So what we are bringing here, mindfulness, breathing techniques and meditation for high performing tutors and anybody in supporting other people, and want to explore how stress impacts this, what it means physiologically and psychologically, how we can notice it, how active mindfulness and breathing techniques can be with this, and apply it absolutely to our daily lives. So I'll talk a little bit about stress and performance and what it actually means to perform. And I think really we're talking here about executing a function or getting something done. And performance can be so personal, but the stress response associated with really bringing this through and executing whatever function it is, it's very, very similar. And I remember in 1 year when I was working with both this scene of professional athletes and high competition World Series events, and I was also supporting teachers and tutors that were going into education, and the stories of the anxiety before race performance, anxiety before walking into a classroom where the situation might not have been absolutely controlled, the physical response was very, very similar. There was increased heart rate, there was this fear of failure, there was this fear of something's going to go wrong. And it was really, really interesting to observe and watch. And the process that we were bringing in was, okay, let's understand what we're experiencing right now in our bodies, first of all. This is really where the answers are. So we'll go into that in a moment. But the physical effects of stress, if we look at that, and I know we're all very well attuned to this, we understand that the breathing can get shallow, the heart rate can start to go. But one thing that I love to coach this with young people as well, and everybody that I work with, is that actually our brain is going through a process. So we'll look at that now, and I'll keep this simple because I'm not a neuroscientist. I've got very much an interest in it. So apologies to anyone in the room who is. This is simple, and it's not my model. Of course, it's the psychiatrist Dan Siegel who explains it absolutely perfectly. I will drop this in the chat in the resources. Please, Ludo, if I forget, remind me, because I did forget that on Monday. So this is the hand model of the brain. This is what it looks like. So imagining that my hand here is a brain. We've got this part of the brain here representing the brain stem, and this part representing the limbic system, the more emotional, reactive part of our brain. And here just above, we've got the cortex. So this cortex is this part that is more soothing, it's more logical, more reasoning. And when we hit an emotional reactivity, someone pushes an emotional button, the first thing that we'll respond with there is this part, this limbic system. So we'll start to activate this. And when we're exhausted, knackered, we really want a young person to do well, there's stuff going on in our own lives that potentially we can get to a place where we lose the ability to soothe and respond, and we get stuck in this flipped lid position, as Dan Siegel calls it. So here we are in this area where we might feel super emotional. We might really cause harm to ourselves and other people, and we're stuck. And this starts off another process that begins with the cortisol production. We'll go into that in a moment. But why am I telling you this? Well, the first time someone told me this, and I was told so many times, and I was like, stop showing me your hand. This is really annoying. I don't get it. But after time and time and time and coaching this with young people, I now understand why I'm doing this. It's because mindfulness, and there are vast amounts of research that shows that mindfulness can strengthen this part of the brain, certainly the prefrontal cortex, that soothes the reactivity that can come in, and we can go like this and flip this lid. So the more that we have this ability to soothe in the space, as practitioners, educators, and also the more our young people that we coach have this ability, then that's really cool, because then the harm doesn't come in, the whole stress response in a chronic situation is not activated. So I'll leave that in the chat. There's one good news, that mindfulness has to actually really active. And I've had to spend a lot of time talking about this because, as you can imagine, talking to this about two extreme athletes who are not as always as finely tuned into this kind of thing, might think it's very, very passive. It's super active, and it can cause physiological change that we really, really will benefit from. So there's one. The other thing we look at with the stress response is the flood of hormones and the cascade of hormones that happens when we activate this stress system, which is very complex. And again, I'm keeping it super simple, which starts with the HPA axis, and then which involves the nervous system, endocrine system, immune system. the end result of this pathway then being this production of cortisol, and this preparation and metabolization of energy to be ready to fight, flight, and freeze. And in the nervous system, we're up here somewhere, in this sympathetic state where we are prepared. So fight, flight, and freeze happens here, which is really cool when it is a really dangerous environment, when it's an acute situation. But if it's not, and it's as a response to a thought or a perception, which isn't always our fault, because it could be someone else's thought perception, it could be our wiring, our deep wiring, or our young people's wiring, that this sets off this sympathetic nervous state. And we can intervene with diaphragmatic breathing, which we will practice together today. It's super exciting. And we come down into the parasympathetic zone, and it's here, and it's calm, and it's rest and digest, and it's space. The two things that I really love about this practice is we can strengthen the prefrontal cortex, and we can soothe, and we can create this space that doesn't take over our own bodies. And we can also reduce the overproduction of cortisol by intervening with our nervous system once we become aware of it, and using techniques such as diaphragmatic breathing. And this is really cool, because the overproduction of cortisol is quite scary, and I think we all know about it. We're talking here about suppressed immune system, insomnia, emotional reactivity, muscle weakness, high blood pressure, health problems, difficulties. So it's super important. And of course, all of those things being very impactful to our performance. And I talk about performance because it's often really acceptable, but I think what I really, really care about is our health. Really our health and our happiness and our ability to be in whatever moment that we've chosen to be in with fully body, heart, soul. So and stop really intervene on processes where we can really take care. But that isn't easy. And personally, I've experienced this. I've worked with my own traumatized brain over the years that's struggled with emotional reactivity, and really delved into this. I've supported other people, as I mentioned at the start. Quite a beautiful process, but it's tough. Coming back into ourselves, our own experience, our inner experience is really, really tough for many reasons. Simply, if we take the story out of it, we've got impermanence. Our bodies, we're facing impermanence when we're coming into our bodies, and realizing that that's actually really scary. As human beings, we want to naturally control, and we might prefer to be actually in a mental control tower where we shut that down, and we maybe a little bit experience aversion to coming into our own bodies. So it has to be gentle. It has to be with so much compassion, because I heard it a lot over years of clinics, over years of delivery, over years of working with young people, that this kind of second arrow that comes in when we realize that we maybe haven't taken care. And it's always, oh, that's my fault. I should have stopped sooner, or I should have done this, or I shouldn't have rushed around, and I've done it myself, and this is my job, and I've put my heart and soul into this for most of my life, and I still do these things. But it's intervening there. It's human nature to exit what is scary, and it's quite a profound survival mechanism, actually. We need that at times. But when we're looking at chronic stress that intervenes with our performance, it's really important that we can notice this and begin to take care very, very gently. So it's difficult. And on top of that, if we have experienced ourselves, or young people that we work with have experienced early years trauma throughout their lives, or difficulties, or their stories, that this overfiring, or this stress response that comes in, or the emotional reactivity, the shutdown, or the aversion, as we know, can be amplified. So it's really, really being gentle and bringing a lot of compassion in. And this is actually part of the foundations of mindfulness. The very first foundation is awareness of the body. And speaker Thich Nhat Hanh talks about we can be alive in the present moment when we are really aware of our own bodies. And we have to come back to our bodies. There's a fantastic therapist, Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps a Score. And he says neuroscience research shows us that the only way we can change the way we feel is by becoming aware of our inner experience and by learning to befriend what is going on inside of us. So mindfulness takes this really compassionate approach, and I've experienced this over the years. So we'll bring this in today, and we'll work with this very, very shortly. And I would love it if we could really take care with that compassion in mind and actually realize that when we're practicing meditation or mindfulness, especially in these situations where when we've got this beautiful and lovely community here, I know, but we don't all know each other, but we're here together and we're supporting this, which is lovely. But it's not easy. It's not easy when we're on the screen. But just like training with athletes that train in really tough conditions, if we can have a few moments of mindfulness within an unusual setting, then when we have the real peace and the real calm, it'll really come through. And Diego talks about this a lot, actually, which he'll mention to you guys on Thursday. He describes it as mindfulness as being like we're sitting in the fire and not getting burned. So they're really, CEO, nudge education, high performance is there every single day. I see it every single day. And it is this ability to sit there, observe and understand the chaos that is around, because that's real life, the chaos that is around, and not be absorbed or consumed or let that shut us down or cause us harm in some way. That's the space that mindfulness is bringing in. So when we practice today, yes, 100%, it's highly likely that all of us here will be distracted, not once, twice, but many, many times. And we'll find ourselves wandering off, maybe thinking about lunch or whatever's going on. And that is no problem. And it's okay. And that is expected. So please take that pressure off. The moment that's important is when we realize, hey, we've gone offline. Hey, we've got distracted. I'm thinking about what I'm making for dinner or the next performance or whatever I'm thinking of. Okay, I've noticed that. That's okay, I'm distracted, but I'm going to come back. And that's where we train. That's the training that comes in, where we can activate and work through this training of prefrontal cortex. This is the moment. So any expectations, then please let them go. See what happens today. Please feel free to make yourself as comfortable as possible. If you've been sitting in the same chair all day and you're like, hey, Hannah, I want to move around, I want to sit on the sofa, I want to lie down, actually, please feel free. So we'll begin this now with a little bit of movement, because I realize we're here on the screens and we're talking about coming back into the body. And I think that would help. If you feel comfortable, you can have a little shake your shoulders. You don't have to do this, guys. Make sure that you are. You can move your head and neck around. I always know, I'm doing my own chiro right now. When I work, there's tightness, there's tension in the neck, there's tightness, there's tension in the jaw. It has to be there. That's normal human response. But let's move around a little bit. And maybe if we lift our shoulders up, we can take a deep breath in at the same time. And as we let them go, we can exhale and let go. So maybe we'll try 3 of these. So really inhale and lift, and exhale and let go. Super nice. Inhale and lift, and exhale and let go. Well done, guys. I also get young people to shake, before I'm working with them, to shake their hands a little bit. It's quite nice. And also grasp and then chuck them away. And then just bring them down, bring them down, bring them down. Let them go nice and slowly back down to the lap or wherever it's comfy. Right. Okay, guys. So very first thing is a technique. So we're going to practice diaphragmatic breathing. It'll take a few minutes, and then we'll have 5 minutes of mindfulness meditation. So you don't need to close your eyes just yet. You can if you want. But diaphragmatic breathing involves the fullness of the breath and movement in the body. And that means expanding the abdomen when we inhale. Take your time. But if you find the low part of your abdomen, I'll just step back so you can see. You can put your hands under your belly button, basically, or somewhere around there. If you feel comfy, if you don't worry. And we're going to take this deep breath in through the nose, and we're going to inhale and let this abdomen expand a little bit. And then as we exhale, you can do that through the mouth or the nose, wherever feels comfy. You can let it fall back to where it started. So we can inhale and expand the abdomen, and exhale and let go. It does feel a bit weird when you do this for the first time. Sometimes it doesn't feel quite right. That's fine, that's normal. So we inhale and expand, and exhale and let go. It might be that we can inhale and expand our abdomen first, and then start to open and expand through the chest. In and exhale and let go. It's lovely that I can see a few of you there, and it's really nice because I can see the movement in the bodies. So inhale, expand the abdomen, maybe move it up into the chest. You could visualize this. Athletes always take the mick when I say this, going up to the top of the head. In and exhale and letting go. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of time, 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 deep breaths, not 3 to 5 minutes, just exploring that. Inhale, expand up and open into the chest to the top of the head, and then exhale and let go. Let's see if we can do a couple more of those. So here we're working to bring ourselves into parasympathetic state, this rest, digest, and calm space. Perfect. If we can bring this into the next few minutes in a natural breathing rhythm, that would be great. As we move into this mindfulness meditation practice, you can find yourselves, guys, in a comfortable position, something that's meaningful for you. And if it's right for you today, you can close your eyes. Maybe it's better for you to keep your eyes downcast. And we can gently bring our attention to the area around the eyes as you do. And maybe we can invite this area to soften and relax. Noticing as we sit now the rhythm of our own breathing. The pace, the movement in our bodies as we breathe. And it's okay if this feels fast or slow. Whatever it is, just notice what's here in this moment. As we take deep breaths and full breaths, and we steady our attention to our own breathing rhythm, allowing the inhale to be full, and maybe noticing the gentle movement of our body as we inhale and exhale. I wonder where it is that you can most easily detect the breath. Maybe the movement and sensation of your body, abdomen and chest, as you inhale and exhale. Maybe the sound of your inhale and exhale as you do this. It could be the coolness of the inhale as it enters the nostrils and the warmth as it leaves. Let's see if we can stay with the place that most easily detects the breath. This breath right here. noticing any distractions as we do. It's very normal that we'll experience this. And just remembering that any moment that we notice we're distracted, we're offline, and we come back, is that moment of mindfulness where we return to this anchor of the breath. This anchor of the place that we sense the breath the most. As we're here with this experience and this body and this breath now, from moment to moment. I'm going to invite you all now to take your time, your own time, to take another 3 to 5 deep breaths. As we begin to rise from this deep nurturing of body and experience. As we do this, we might want to bring our attention to the palms of our own hands. We could, if it feels right, invite an idea of warmth to the hands. When we reach the deep breaths, we might want to begin to slowly move our head, move our shoulders, and gently open our eyes. There's a little bit of warmth in the hands. Maybe we can rub the hands together and just experience that. And we can place the hands on the forehead, hands on the back of the neck. Maybe we can have a little look around the room. This is a really lovely position, super nurturing. Can look around the room and just check, bringing our attention now maybe to our hands again. This little process of grounding and coming back here in the room. Take your time, guys. This was really lovely to share this experience and meditation with you. It's quite normal after this to feel sleepy or to experience that you might have been distracted many times in that. And that's very, very normal. Well done, everybody. It's so lovely to be able to take this time and come back in. And well done. If this was your first time experiencing mindfulness meditation, really super, super cool. And I wish and I hope that you continue to practice in some way a little bit every day if it's there. It's not easy, but and I'm going to drop these resources also into the chat because I've talked about a few of these things today. There are some free resources as well where you can access this kind of mindfulness meditation by a teacher of mine called Tara Brach, who I absolutely love, also psychotherapist, and just fabulous, incredible woman. There's lots of good resources on there. And also, I'm here now for a little bit of time if anybody would like to ask questions, share any experience. But please, we're talking about self-care, so please get lunch, basically. Please have this nice time to have a break and have some lunch there. And I'll drop this in the chat now. If anyone needs to go, I'm sure Ludo can pass this on for me while I work this out. But thank you so much, everybody. It's been a real pleasure and lovely to see you guys today.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I have taken so much from the session this morning and just now,